Thank you so much, Daniel. I take it you can see my slides. Also from my side, a very warm welcome. It's always great to have these events towards the end of the year where we can make sure to reach out to all of you and connect and share a little bit what has happened over the last few months, get new people sort of impression what we're doing, and also have a little bit of an outlook of what is coming next. So I don't have much time, and deliberately wanted to be relatively brief to give more time to other people who have more, let's say, more content-heavy things to say. But I think it's also important for me just to share with you what, from my perspective, what has been happening. And I would like to do this sort of in 4 buckets, if you want. I will talk a little bit about the people, as you know, people first, then about the presence of life, some of the papers, and some of the project that were kicked off more recently, which I think is a very nice development. And overall, I think it's fair to say that life really keeps gaining momentum. So this is very exciting to see from our perspective here. So on the people side, some of you may have seen a similar slide last year. We really have a worldwide presence. We are more than 400 people now on the mailing list and on the Slack. This does, of course, not mean that everyone is equally contributing yet. Many people are just interesting to follow, but it's always good to see that this number is steadily rising. And also we are sort of really having contacts to all the continents, major countries, and all over the world. And we can sort of build really on an international community for this. One thing that happened just a few months ago, last year I showed a picture from the science team meeting. This year, this is a picture from the first Life Day that was organized in one of our neighboring countries. This is the Dutch Life Days that were organized by Floris van der Tak and by Tim Lichtenberg. Was at Esron in Leiden, and that was actually a very nice experience where, as you can see, many people from the Dutch community working on instrumentation, but also on the science, came together and discussed the status of life and potential contributions. And I actually think this was a very good format, and one could imagine doing similar things also in other countries. And if this is something that you would maybe also considering organizing for yourself, please reach out to us. Happy to discuss, and I'm sure that Floris and also Tim would be very happy to share their experience. So that was, for me at least, a very, very nice experience, and allowed the national community really to come together under the umbrella of life, triggering discussions that would not have been possible before. And we also managed to really get some high-profile people from the national community in the room, so that they could get an impression what life is really about. So that was for me a great success, and thanks again to Floris and Tim for organizing this. Now, talking about the presence of life sort of at conferences and overall, I think what really happened over the last few months is that it's not only people from the life team directly, but also other people picking up on life. And this is something that became more and more present over the last few months. And here you see 2 examples from the Exoplanets 5 conference, where on the left-hand side, Sean, and on the right-hand side, Sarah, gave presentations, and they both explicitly referred to the life mission in the context of understanding terrestrial exoplanets and the possible synergies with other missions and instruments. And I found it very nice because it sort of shows us that we managed to put life as a project or as a mission really on the map of globally and in the minds of many people, that they just naturally mention it in their presentations without us having to explicitly ask for it. So I think this is a very good thing. In a similar direction, this is Thomas Surbuchen, the former associate administrator of the Science Mission Directorate at NASA. He also does these things without us asking for him. So there's a presentation he gave at the annual assembly of the Leopoldina in Germany, where he was invited to speak about the future of exoplanet science and the search for life beyond the solar system. And also there he was referring to the life mission as one of the next things that should happen. So as you can see, we have strong allies all over the world, and we should make sure we leverage this going forward. On the publication side, I'm sure many of you are following or have followed so far the Life Paper series, which is still ongoing. I still believe it's a great success. It really contributed to the visibility that the LIFE mission has by now in the scientific community. But even more important, similar to the talks I was just mentioning, there's also more and more papers coming out that are not necessarily driven by the LIFE initiative, are not written under the LIFE paper series umbrella, but people just referring to the mission, asking for simulations. And this is a very good sign, so that people are picking up the idea of this mission and how it could be useful for their science. And by now, it's clearly more than 20 peer-reviewed papers, and there's many more in preparation from our community itself, but also sort of still external people who are not officially assigned with the LIFE team at this point in time. Interestingly, and to some extent, almost more importantly for me, is on the right-hand side, you see an illustration of LIFE-related papers that were published in the context of the SPAE conference this year. And there were in total 17 papers that were referring to LIFE. Some of them came from the LIFE team itself. So the SPE conference, as some of you may know, is about technologies and instrumentation for astronomy. But there were also many papers that were actually not coming from within our community, but coming from other colleagues working on certain aspects, certain instruments, but then referring to LIFE as a future application. And also here, it was very great to see that the mission is actually picked up and put into context with ongoing research in different places. That is not necessarily just, again, driven by us, but really self-driven by the community by now. Coming to projects, and those of you who had a look at the newsletter that we sent out a few weeks ago saw this already. I think compared to last year, this is certainly the area where we made most progress. We always had hoped that more and more groups, colleagues would be able to secure some funding that also supports the development of technical aspects of the LIFE mission. And this now seems to be really taking off. As you can see here, there were 3 more recent successes. One is from Leonid, working on compact delay lanes for space interferometry. I think this project basically started. Then we have our colleagues at ESRON, led by Peter de Visser, who already started looking into MKIT detectors a while ago, but now they got some money to do this more systematically, which is excellent. And then Flores and Tim in the Netherlands, they also have obtained a grant to look at some optical aspects of the LIFE mission, and also to start doing some developments in the direction of cryogenic deformable mirrors. And we strongly hope that these successes here will also inspire and motivate other groups to ask for funding for some tech development going forward. And actually, we already know of some more successes that we hopefully can share with the LIFE team in the not so distant future, maybe in another LIFE newsletter. And some of these projects will actually also be presented during this all hands meeting to give all of you some more better flavor of what this is about, and also show you the technical developments that are actually ongoing. Of course, I cannot say anything. I cannot say nothing about how things with ESA. Many of you may know that or all of you hopefully know that we managed to be mentioned prominently in this report that was handed to the science director a few years ago, that the science that is represented by the LIFE mission has a top priority and could actually be a theme for a future L-class mission. And this is, of course, still true because this report is still out there. But on the other hand, nothing really has happened over the last months. Similar to last year, there was no official communication between the ESA and the LIFE team. This is not to say that there's no activity. So some of you may remember that there is an activity for a single spacecraft non-interferometer led by our colleagues at the TU Delft, Mr. Jérôme Loic. And we also got some funding for the NICE experiment to demonstrate nulling interferometry in the lab environment. So there's some ESA funding already, but it did not sort of progress beyond that. At this point in time, the time scale and also the scope of a lifelike mission within the ESA science program remains unclear. It is my understanding that maybe after the next ministerial, which will be in fall next year, things become a little bit clearer. So ESA started looking into the L4 mission, which is a mission to the icy moons. There have been some working groups, and they're going to make a call for more for more working groups for the L4 mission. But for L5, it is my understanding, also talking to the Swiss-based office, that nothing actually will happen after the next ministerial, which is sort of end of next year. However, and I think this is really, really important, and this is why I wanted to write it down and also say it in my own words. We as an initiative or as a project, we have always been working what we think a life mission should be. And we will continue to work on our own timescale and our own mission scope. So what I want to say is, as you saw on the previous slides, we really came a long way, and we managed to secure funding for certain aspects even before ESA starts really engaging. So this should be encouraging and should really give us courage to do so also going forward, and really continue working on a mission that we think it should be in terms of scope and in terms of timeline. And actually, we'll come back to this in a few minutes. So in terms of scope, just a very top level reminder, I think really the unique selling point of LIFE can be that it aspires to be the world leading space mission to search for life beyond the solar system. Many of you have heard this, but I think there's really something we can leverage, that if we do it right, it is all sorts of different exoplanets that life can actually observe and analyze. It could be Earth-like biospheres, so planets that are very similar to modern Earth or have a similar evolution. So some of you may know we did Earth through time analysis, so maybe also a planet that is like a previous Earth or early Earth could be detected. Importantly, we can also look at non-Earth-like biospheres, so biosignature gases and atmospheres that are not so prominently present in modern Earth. Life can also detect those. And finally, there's also new studies coming out that actually life can also look for technological signatures. And the combination of those, and also the variation in host star environment, I think is really a unique selling point for the life mission. Importantly, and this is at the bottom of the page, the planetary diversity that life is able to probe provides the necessary context for the interpretation of those signatures. And I think this is really something we always have to keep in mind. We need some reference samples. We need to really understand the diversity of other worlds out there in order to be able to say something about a few planets that may look like outliers, and that could actually then be the biospheres we're actually interested in. And this package, I think, makes life very, very compelling, and we should always keep that in mind. Of course, there's other science cases. Of course, there's other science topics you could address. But in terms of selling points, these are the ones that we may want to keep in mind and re-emphasize in all the conversations we're going to have. Now, in terms of timeline, we should remain ambitious. And from our perspective, we should not shy away from setting ambitious goals. So at this point in time, we consider maybe launching around 2040. And we started looking from a very top level perspective how this could be done. We identified 3 stages. We go through a preparation stage, then a maturation stage, and then an implementation stage. And you can see here all those different aspects that we would like to address in these phases. And as you can also see, it's roughly always 5-year timeframes, which is a nice package because it allows us to plan for 5 years very specifically, make sure that we do the things that we need to do in those 5 years first, make sure that we prioritize the right activities, and then use the end of each phase to prepare the next phase. And we still have to break this down to smaller work packages and smaller chunks. But from our perspective, this is actually what we believe is ambitious, but not completely unrealistic. So, and in this spirit, we keep pushing forward. And it's great to see that the science team continues to investigate various science cases, not only the biosignatures that I was referring to, but also the biosignatures. And everyone is invited to participate in these activities. Tim and Eleonora are very active in educating, but also entertaining the science team, educating in the sense that new team members will very quickly learn how you can participate and how projects can be supported and can be put on the map. A point that was raised regularly was the question of noise modeling, and this is the second bullet on this slide. So the simulator that we have to allow us to quantify some of the science cases is currently being updated. This has been going on for a few months now. A lot of time and effort went into this to make sure that we also can treat instrumental artifacts much more quantitatively. And it's looking very good in the sense that now we can actually measure, or let's say input, amplitude, phase, and polarization errors, which allows us to understand how these effects then impact on the observations. And we can turn it around. It also allows us to put requirements on the instrument. So this is, I think, excellent progress in this direction too. You saw the plan, the 3 arcs that we have until 2040. And if you paid attention, the first arc, we talk about a mission study. Currently, we're really working on a mission study proposal where we would like to work with academic and industry partners to analyze the overall mission in the context of a concept study, to understand where we want to go in the long run, and also to understand better what we still have to do. This proposal will also include, of course, the science case. It will motivate the current mission baseline. And Adrian, who will talk after me, will actually talk a little bit more about the current baseline that we have in mind. And then we will describe the current, the various work packages that we have identified and that need to be tackled in the coming months and years. And this is actually a good opportunity also to make sure we reach out to partners to join forces and help us with these developments. And that's why this exercise is so important, that we can make sure that people really interested in contributing also on technical aspects, that we create the synergies and be as efficient as we can. We also make good progress on fundraising for the concept study and for some technology development. So we started talking to potential donors. We also started talking to potential industry partners, and many people are very receptive for the idea of the live mission. And we're actually quite optimistic that this is a good way forward, where we try to get support, also financial support, from maybe non-traditional sources for such a space mission. And we will keep you posted on these developments. And if fundraising and looking into foundations and potential donors is also something you're interested in, please reach out, and we can certainly coordinate here. Overall, because of these new developments, the concept study, but also the R&D on the technical side, we're currently revising a little bit the life organigram. And this has to do with the fact that we would like to make sure that we are as efficient as possible and as coordinated as possible. While we continue, of course, encouraging all of you to follow your own interests and your own projects, there is a certain level of coordination required because we just keep growing. And this is what we're going to do here at ETH Zurich to make sure that we also then mirror those activities locally here to make sure we connect the right people together and that all the different puzzle pieces actually fit together as nicely as possible. And with this, I think I would like to thank you for your attention.